Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today, where we're talking about personalization for retailers in particular, and why we think it's the key to delivering a great on-site experience. My name is Alistair Bulger. I'm the Strategic Development Director here at Experian. I look after exciting new developments that we look to do with our data, in particular connecting it to digital identifiers and making it available digitally. Just a bit of context to explain why we're talking about this and why we think it's quite important. So throughout this, I'm going to be quoting some statistics from our digital marketing report from earlier this year, because I think they really gave us a good insight as to what was important for our customers, particularly EMOs, EVP marketing, and also I think because they're quite important for understanding why we decided to go with this particular topic. The very first one that we think is quite interesting is that, if marketers could make one single wish come true, 26% of them would choose to be able to tailor their personalization more accurately and more consistently. They really want to be able to deliver that unique experience to every customer. And then 33% of marketers said that delivering real-time, contextually relevant experiences was one of their biggest priorities. Again, it's about that relevancy that we think is very important. And actually, the last one, and I don't think I have a slide on this, but the 51% of marketers said that enhancing their knowledge of their customers' needs and attitudes was one of their three biggest priorities for this year. So what we're looking to cover in this session really is all about personalization. What do we mean by it? Why should you use it? What do you need to do it? And, one of the particular frontiers of personalization at the moment is on-site personalization. We'll also have time for a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to use the chat box and my colleagues will bring the questions through. Excellent. So what do we mean by personalization? Now, I'm sure this is very familiar to you. This is the different personalized recommended purchases, if you like, on Amazon for two different people in our office. And I won't embarrass them by sharing their names. But you can see exactly how Amazon uses personalization to make recommendations based on your purchases and obviously what you've been viewing. Personalization can be a lot more sophisticated than that. So in this case, Netflix recommends certain content based on not just what I've viewed already, although that contextual part plays into it, but actually also it's also going to recommend content based on my demographics. So Netflix understands me as a customer, and it can understand what people like me are interested in. And actually, we know from the digital marketer report that we ran, that the benefits of personalization are very clear and very measurable. So 79% of consumers are more likely to engage with a personalized offer. And in fact, 78% of consumers say that relevant content increases their purchase intent. 88% of marketers actually see measurable improvements as a result of adopting personalization. And this can come in a couple of different ways. Now, about 50% of marketers see a reduction in acquisition costs, and actually about slightly more than half of marketers see a greater than 10% increase in revenue as a result of adopting personalization. That number varies between 5 to 15%, but actually it biases towards the top end. So another challenge that we uncovered, and I think all of you can probably speak to this, is the challenge of personalization across the funnel. So here we have, and I'm probably revealing my age here a little bit, a classic AIDA funnel with different channels and devices that may be used at different stages of that funnel. So you start with awareness, and you're talking about classic kind of prospecting and branding. Interest obviously brings in search in particular, and that's why search advertising is so effective. Decision is where I'm probably doing that last bit of research and really kind of deciding which which one I'm going to buy, and then action is when I actually convert. Obviously, after conversion, there's still that marketing activity as well, but at this point, I probably know who I'm talking to because they're already a customer. But actually, we found that throughout, personalization isn't consistent across the channel. And this is one of the statistics that really fascinates me. Which communications do our marketers currently personalize? Well, 84% of marketers personalize their emails, but only 28% of marketers currently personalize their on-site experiences, which, to be honest, is fascinating to me because this says, to my mind, that marketers know and understand the benefits of personalization. It's just that they're perhaps not able to do it as much or as extensively as they would like to. Fantastic. So I think we've spoken a little bit about some of the benefits, but just to summarize, the real benefit of being able to deliver that personalized experience in real time is the fact that you can deliver that more relevant message. And actually, what that really means is improving the customer experience. And as we all know, a better customer experience is a more effective marketing outcome, because it benefits in acquisition and in retention. The other thing, the other challenge perhaps, but also the other key to personalization is having that consistent data and that consistent experience throughout the funnel and across different channels and devices. So that means having data on every customer and prospect, whether they've interacted with you before or whether you've had any experience with them before. But also it means having that data available throughout the consumer journey, wherever they engage with you and however they engage with you. So this means from that very first branding advert all the way through to conversion and beyond, you need to apply all of that data in order to be able to make a personalization decision. So a few more statistics, and I think, again, these really sort of talk to the challenge, perhaps, that marketers face. Now, many of you will know, as retailers, that typically 40% of your visitors are unknown or at least unrecognized, which means they may have been customers, but you don't know that they are right now until they actually transact. At which point, that's kind of too late, because at that point, you've missed the opportunity to influence that transaction. Now, 75% of consumers expect consistent experiences across these channels as well. And actually, we found that more than 7 of 10 consumers would switch to get that personalized experience as well. Now, marketers don't have enough data right now, is what they're telling us, and what data they have is inaccurate. In fact, we found that 4 out of 10 marketers say that they don't have enough data, and about half of the marketers we spoke to say that what data they have is inaccurate. Now, I'm sure there's some overlap, but that most marketers have some challenge when it comes to actually using the data that they have, applying it, and ensuring that it's the right data to be applied. And really, all of this ties back to identity. If you don't know who someone is, it's very hard for you to determine what data you have on them and how it can be applied. And actually, identity, therefore, is the key to being able to do that on-site personalization, because that unlocks all of the data that you have. So what do marketers use to personalize at the moment? Well, I was kind of fascinated to see that this didn't even, only 55% of marketers are using basic demographics, including first name, for example, in their personalization. Now, assuming that 84% of marketers are personalizing their email, I think there's an easy win there by using first name and perhaps gender and age in greetings, for example. Now, geolocation data is very useful, particularly when you're a so-called clicks and mortar business. So being able to tailor your offers perhaps towards local stores is very valuable, and actually tailoring your offers towards local price points is very, very valuable too. And then about a quarter of marketers, or slightly more, use their first-party data that they already have. But actually, what we see is that there's an opportunity for marketers to use much more data than they already do. segment perhaps, and indeed, you know your different segments. What we think, though, is that first-party data is always going to be valuable. Absolutely. That's your most valuable data. But as we saw beforehand, from the graphic beforehand, actually, you know, often you don't have that first-party data available. Customers haven't told you who they are, and that doesn't allow you to use that insight that you have. And that's where we think third-party data can be particularly valuable, because third-party data can fill in those gaps. Excellent. So the last point really, I think, and this is more of a summary perhaps of all the points that we've discussed, is what you need to actually execute on-site personalization. Of course, you need those technical building blocks. You know, we talk about CMSs, increasingly perhaps it's a personalization engine or an A/B testing engine or something like that. You need to have that accurate data on every visitor to your site. And you also need to be able to use this in real time. No good having the data available only when it's too late. It needs to happen as soon as they turn up on site. Well, we can certainly help. As many of you are probably aware, indeed many of you are probably our existing customers, we provide a very accurate, very granular view of the UK population. Our database contains about 51 million UK adult records, aggregated into 25 million households, and we have about 500 attributes per person. All of these records are currently linked to about 130 million cookies to device ID. Now, what this actually means is that this data, all of this data, is now available to be actioned as soon as somebody turns up on your site. So just to explain how that helps, effectively, as soon as somebody visits your site, you can make that request to the Experian database where we can return Experian data. We can then feed this into your personalization engine, and it can be used to customize that look and feel on your site. Because it's connected to both cookies and device ID, this is automatically a cross-device, cross-channel experience that you deliver. And because it's aggregated at the household level, we can even deal with situations like a household tablet. I'm sure many of you listening will have a tablet in your home that you probably share with your significant other. What this really means, what we call this perhaps, is audience insight. So because we have that data, we're able to deliver these customized experiences, or at least the information that powers a customized experience in real time. We have, as I say, about 130 million digital identifiers linked to our data. Currently represents about 70% of the connected UK households. Now, that will probably improve a little bit, but what we see actually is that because we need to have that connection being very accurate, and because there's a natural churn in the number of devices that are out there, people get new phones, they get to use their old phones, they get new computers, and actually because increasingly people don't want data stored on them, we think about 70 to 75% is probably the cap. So, in conclusion, what we would say is that we think data is the key to effective personalization. Now, a key as well is that often when we talk about personalization, we're not really talking about to the individual, we're talking about the persona they represent. So actually, it's about the segmentation that you have. And I'd just say, finally, that if you don't know who a visitor is, then please ask someone who does. We have a solution, but there are many other data partners who you may have who could contribute here as well. Fantastic. With that, I'll open the floor to questions, and I look forward to answering those.